vote for Trump means your groceries will be cheaper. So many people mention I go in.
The higher the tariff, the more likely it is to have them come into.
Rising prices, economic uncertainty, and a bold return to tariffs. Donald Trump's latest policy announcement has MAGA supporters scrambling to stock up before the financial storm hits. But what does this mean for the average American household? Let's unpack the real cost of these tariffs and the surprising ways they'll impact your everyday life.
I've seen so many videos on my FYP about what to buy before the tariffs. A lot of the videos that I've seen are kind of getting it wrong. And again, I have a unique perspective because I own my own business that literally manufactures in China, not because I want to, but because I have to, because the United States doesn't have that industry that I can easily go into. The overarching theme of my list is to buy things now that are going to help you not buy things in the future. Because I don't think people realize it's not like one category, like everything is going to get more expensive. Everything, right? Because even if a company doesn't manufacture their product in China, they're probably getting the raw materials from China. Trump's tariffs that he has proposed, it's not just on China. It's basically any country that's not the United States. And literally there are zero things that are completely made in the United States without some sort of raw material or manufacturing or purchasing some sort of import from another country. So here's my list. Number one, you want to get a water filter. Okay. Our water quality is going to get worse. You shouldn't be buying bottled water anyway. It's a complete scam. I have a video pinned on the top of my profile about different kinds that are really great. There's many that are really effective under $100. Number two, you want to buy kitchen electrics, okay? Because your ultimate goal is to not buy things that are already pre-made, right? So you want to make things more yourself. So buying a kitchen electric now is really going to help you save money down the road, okay? And by the way, I want to remind you, even if something doesn't touch China at all, do you think these companies are really going to not raise their prices if they a company is going to raise its prices even if it doesn't have to. If you don't already have a KitchenAid mixer, get one. If you don't already have a food processor, getting a toaster oven, getting an air fryer, right? And all of those little things are going to help save you money down the road. Another thing I would do is if you need to upgrade your phone or your computer, getting a new laptop, you should do that now. Black Friday is going to be a really good opportunity to do that because basically, again, all electrics go through China or Southeast Asia, all of them. Okay. So all of them are going to rise, and not by a little. I've seen some people saying they're going to rise by 20%. Nah, man, they could potentially double. Again, we have no idea what Trump's going to do, but he has pretty unilateral, control over tariffs. I would get, and this one's for the ladies, is I would get Plan B and mifepristone online. Yeah, they could potentially ban it. It looks like they potentially will. And either way, it's disaster preparedness. You want to get Plan B and mifepristone if you can swing it and just have a few of those stocked if you potentially can. Mifepristone's expensive, but Plan B is actually cheap. So save it for a rainy day, just like you would a generator, which is probably something you also want to have. An amazing thing to stock up on would be getting a few little solar panels and a little generator. So the last thing I would say is that you want to get some high ticket clothing items, right? Again, that are going to last for a long time. We potentially have 3 to 6 months to purchase these things. So what I would say is now get a good pair of boots, right? Get that big winter coat, and spend the money on it. Don't get some cheap polyfill, right? Get something with feathers or wool on the inside. I know it's inhumane, but it's going to last a lot longer, and you don't want that polyfill shit. That stuff makes you sweat. It's gross, right? Get a nice pair of sandals, right, for next summer. We don't make shoes here in the US anymore. Who knows if these things are going to go through, but better to be safe than sorry.
Trump's proposed tariffs on imports from Canada, China, and Mexico are being marketed as a patriotic move to protect American jobs. However, the ripple effect tells a different story. From electronics to fresh produce, everyday essentials are set to become luxury items for many families.
Are you thinking about stocking up before Trump's tariffs drive up the price? Here are some everyday items that might be in danger of higher prices. So if you've noticed the price of things going up lately, you might want to brace yourself for even higher costs. President-elect Donald Trump has proposed a new set of tariffs that could affect everything from electronics to food. But what exactly are tariffs, and how will they impact your wallet? Let's break it down. Simply put, a tariff is a tax on imported goods. When goods come into the United States from another country, the government charges a tariff to make them more expensive. This is meant to encourage people to buy goods made in the United States instead, which does help local businesses but can make imported items cost more for consumers. Trump has proposed a broad tariff plan that includes a 10 to 20% tariff on all imported goods from other countries, a 60% to 100% tariff on goods imported from China. These tariffs are part of his strategy to reduce the U.S. trade deficit and encourage companies to bring more production back to the United States. The tariffs would impact a wide variety of products, including many everyday items that you might use. Here's a breakdown by category to help you better understand. Electronics, such as gaming laptops, prices could increase by up to 45%. If you're thinking of buying one soon, it could go from $1,000 to $1,450. Gaming consoles, expect a 40% price increase as many of the consoles are made in China. Monitors, prices could rise by about 31%. Clothing and textiles are included too. Clothes and shoes. Many clothing brands import from overseas, and these tariffs could cause prices to go up by 10% to 25%. Jeans, t-shirts, and sneakers, popular items in everyday clothing, could get more expensive. Household goods like furniture that is imported could see a price hike of up to 20%. Appliances, so items like refrigerators, washing machines, and microwaves, may also rise in price due to higher tariffs on metals and electronic components. Food and beverages imported. If you're a fan of exotic fruits or snacks from abroad, be prepared for price increases due to tariffs on imports, especially if the goods are coming from China. So canned foods and beverages are included as well. Imported beverages and canned food might also cost more. Depending on the item, consumers can see prices increase anywhere from 10% to 45%. For electronics like gaming laptops and consoles, this means a jump in price by hundreds of dollars. For everyday goods like clothing and household items, expect a smaller increase, but still noticeable. At first glance, tariffs may seem like a way to bring more money into the United States, but they also have a downside. With higher tariffs, consumers will face higher prices on many products. For the average family, this could mean paying more for things that they need and want, whether it's a new laptop, some fresh fruit, or even a new pair of shoes. The extra cost could add up quickly, making it harder for working class families to budget and save. And here's where the irony comes in, right? Many people voted for President-elect Trump in the hopes of lowering prices on everyday items. But with these proposed tariffs, those same voters might soon find themselves paying way more for the very products that they rely on. The promise of lower costs might seem to be backfiring, as the tariffs could have the opposite effect and leave many consumers with higher bills. So, now that you know what could go up in price,
Consider this. Laptops could see a 46% price hike, and washing machines, which were already hit by tariffs in 2018, might climb even higher. For many, these aren't just products. They're lifelines in a digital and modern world.
I wanted to piggyback off this comment right here to remind people that prices are as low as they're going to get for the foreseeable future right now. So if you are not panic buying stuff to stock up on things before the tariffs hit, you probably should be. And also, if you're basing your budgeting around what you're making plus overtime, subtract the overtime. Do that too, please. Now, get ahead of it.
So if there's a 25% tariff imposed on all goods going into the United States, with the concept of that plan being to increase domestic production and or manufacturing, and you own a farm, let's say, within the United States, and you've now all of a sudden lost most of your workers because they're being deported, how are prices not going to increase? Because consumers are going to have two options. A, they buy the imported product at a 25% increase, or B, they're going to buy a locally produced product at an increase due to higher wages. How is this better for the economy? Is there any guarantee that prices aren't going to go up?
I can't guarantee anything.
If Donald Trump follows through with his 25% blanket tariff, then the Bank of Canada could lower rates to as low as 1.5%. Here's what that means. As you could guess, the Canadian dollar would take a pretty big hit, with economists predicting a pullback of between 5 and 10%. And we would likely see high inflation, with prices increasing due to higher importing and exporting costs. The general sentiment is the statement is not as credible as it seems, and it's unlikely we would see a 25% blanket tariff, but it's more so used as a negotiating tactic to then impose impose more targeted tariffs on certain industries. Nevertheless, the Canadian government's decisions are a little less unified with an impending election, but let me know what you guys think that means for the economy and for the real estate market.
And America voted to get those grocery prices to get back down. So, all right, yay for grocery prices going to come back down with the new president, President Trump.
Well, hi, good sir. You made that video back on November 6th. When I saw it, I saved it purposely because I knew I would be able to make this video. We told you guys that Donald Trump would not be able to lower the grocery prices. Yesterday, he said himself that he would not be able to lower your grocery prices. The only person who could have lowered your grocery prices was Kamala Harris, because the only feasible thing that they can do to force those prices down is to stop corporations from price gouging. These corporations inflated their prices during COVID. When the pandemic ended, they kept them up. They said, oh, they're paying it anyways, let's just keep it up. They have celebrated record profits this year. Why? Because they kept those prices raised and we all had to pay them. But guess what? They could have come down if you voted for Kamala Harris. And to make matters worse, not only did he say he doesn't know if he'll be able to lower the prices, but his tariffs will for sure increase the prices. How baffling. You voted for cheaper eggs, but now every single thing that you buy is going to be more expensive. And this is the FO of the FAFO. Anyways, my name is Mercedes Chandler. Give me a follow or you won't see my face again. Thanks, bye.
Trump said that he'll put tariffs on the EU if they don't buy more U.S. oil and gas. The president-elect wants to reduce the U.S. trade deficit with the European Union, but it's not going to be that easy. For this, I just want to focus on liquefied natural gas. The U.S. is the world's biggest LNG exporter. The U.S. is such a large gas producer that it makes sense that the president would try to sell more of it to the EU. Look at this chart. The U.S. is already the largest supplier of LNG to Europe, making up roughly half of the supply last year. It would be challenging to increase it much more than this. On the flip side, you can see last year here in this chart that Europe was also the largest destination for American LNG. Those deliveries fell this year to other destinations like Asia or South America. But that's not because Europe wasn't willing to buy the LNG. It's just the way that the LNG market works. Let me explain. Most US LNG is sold on a long-term basis to customers or other energy companies. A lot of those contracts are with utilities in Japan or gas suppliers in China, even big oil like Shell. So all that LNG is effectively controlled by the end user. There's very little that is still controlled by an American company, and none is controlled by the US government. The reason why you saw such a big jump in US LNG deliveries to Europe from 2022 onward is because the war in Ukraine caused a spike in gas prices in Europe. That spike in prices made it more attractive to sell the LNG to Europe than to bring it to Asia or other places. In other words, Chinese companies and Japanese utilities were selling their LNG into Europe instead of bringing it home because it was just more attractive. It was more profitable to do so. So in the short term, US LNG deliveries to Europe are unlikely to rise unless prices also increase in that region. But if Europe and European companies want to appease Trump, then they could do something else. They could just sign long-term contracts with future projects. There's not a whole lot of spare capacity in the projects that are currently operating, but there are a lot of proposed projects that these importers could buy from. They could commit to buy a long-term supply from a facility that isn't set to come online until 2027, 2028, or beyond. Sure, that wouldn't solve the trade deficit problem right now, but it could be a big contract that might make the Trump administration happy. In conclusion, it's markets and capitalism that controls where the LNG goes, not so much politics right now. But politics might play into future supply contracts.